up, everybody? So, One Piece chapter 670. I got mixed reactions to this. I got mixed reactions because I really wanted this story to focus more on Luffy and Bellamy. And I totally get why Oda took the scope off of Luffy because we've been on Luffy for a while. And there's so much other stuff going on at Dressrosa right now. There's so much other stuff going on to where you kind of have to take the scope off of Luffy because if you don't, I mean, you run the risk of alienating the fans of other characters. You know, One Piece is more than just the story of Luffy. It's a bunch of different stories taking place simultaneously. And there's something I've always respected that Eiichiro Oda does, is that he, I wouldn't say equally pays the same amount of attention to everybody, but you got stuff like with the cover stories, like what we currently have with Jinbe, where he's going around and he's, you know, on his different adventures and everything, like little stuff like that. Like Oda always kind of throws it right back to previous characters, and so with these chapters with all these different battles going on, you know, Oda really used this chapter as more of a transition chapter. Like this is one of those chapters where there's so much stuff going on that Oda's like, hey, let's just touch base with all these other characters, and then we'll get back to Luffy. I just don't want you guys to forget about what's going on with Zoro, what's going on with all these other combatants from the Colosseum. And what I found interesting, probably the high point for me, is I really like Baby Five. I like that whole schizophrenic thing she's got going on where, you know, she's hearing in code. Like she's hearing bits and pieces, but she's not hearing the whole thing. It reminds me of what happens with the Mizukage from Naruto, the fifth Mizukage. You know, she has this whole hang up about marriage and being unfit for marriage and everything and not being able to start a family because she feels like she's getting too old. And so she, when you might say, let's go to the park, and then she'll say, I'm going to break your heart or something. Like she hears things the wrong way. And Baby Five, when she's talking, you know, Baby Five hears the dude say like, yeah, you're not going to be able to break out my grip. And she's like, oh, you say you'll never let me go. Oh, you say that you'll always love me. Oh, you want me to follow you. Oh, you want this, you want that. And it's just like, oh my God. She's like that one chick that you could be talking to, and it don't take much of anything to get into her panties, man. Like for female viewers on there, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but I mean you do have some women where the amount of effort it takes to sleep with them, for whatever reason, it's not very high. It's not very high. You pay a few compliments, you make them laugh, and you give them attention, and the pussy's as good as yours. And it's kind of the same thing with Baby Five, but you know, with that, man, like I said before, that's some angry kitty because she can turn every single part of her body into a weapon. And Oda's like confirmed, like in this SBS corner before this, he's like, yeah, so can this guy's dick explode? Yeah, it absolutely can. That's scary. You best believe that she could probably like have like some claws and shit snatch out of that pussy if you hit that the wrong way. So I mean, I totally get it. I totally get where Oda's kind of taking that one. But I mean, I like that little fight. I thought that was cool. But, you know, the big thing is, I really feel like if Oda was going to go this direction, like, instead of just showing us all the other characters, you know, instead of showing us that, like, I really feel as if it should have just been Zoro versus Pica. I get why Oda had to show us all the other characters, because Zoro, for the most part, was the focus of this chapter. You know, right after we get the little cut scene of Luffy, it goes to Zoro. Zoro's jumping all over the place. Pica, you know, Pica and Zoro, they're having their little back and forth. They're having a little exchange. Pica takes over the whole plateau. And then the giant from Elbaph, when he comes down, you know, Zoro is, you know, looking at him. And at the end of the chapter, Zoro's just like, hey, you know, sleep tight. Even when you wake up, the cage would be gone. And it's just like, is Zoro going to try and slice the bird cage open? I could see that. But more than likely, that's kind of like Zoro saying like, hey, you know what? I'm putting my faith in Luffy. Luffy can come through, but I just got to take down this Pica dude. And what I like about this is, you know, Zoro, it's like he doesn't see a challenge too big for him to take on. Because, you know, Zoro, when Pica is like, hey, yeah, I just took over this plateau, what are you going to do now? Zoro's just like, okay, the bigger they are, the easier it is to slice them. Or the more fun it is to slice them. It's just like, this dude doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. And again, that's something I really enjoy when it comes to Roanoa Zoro. That's something I really enjoy, just that part of his character. Though I do gotta say this, I did think it was pretty interesting that the giant gladiator that we had from the Colosseum, when he gets his flashbacks and everything, he's just like, man, you know, I wanted to be the king of the giants. I wasn't able to do it. I fought at this Colosseum. I got free. or I fought at the Colosseum, got turned into a toy, I got free, I wasn't able to pay my respect back, I wasn't able to pay my my debt, and he just launches one of these dudes up to the top of the birdcage, and the dude gets sliced, and it just shows you, like with Doflamingo, there's no getting out of there. There's no getting out. I guarantee you it's probably at the bottom of the fucking sea, and it's up there at the top of the sky. Like, you know, it's utter chaos. You know, you're going to be stuck there until either you die or Doflamingo is defeated. But I do got to say this, man. Like, again, I get why Oda was going this direction, but I really wanted it to be more on Luffy. Because I really feel as if Bellamy was saying some real stuff at the top of the chapter. I really feel like Bellamy was saying some real shit. Because when Luffy's saying, "Stop it, Bellamy. Mingo betrayed you. There's no reason for me to fight you." And Bellamy says, like, if you still think my determination is that shallow, and it just breaks off after that. But what I love about it is, you know, Bellamy has all types of emotions in him. And I would have loved to have either more focus on that fight or more focus on just Bellamy's mind state. Because this gives us an opportunity to see more of the Luffy and Doflamingo battle from the perspective of somebody who has allegiance to both of them. You know, like Bellamy, he's torn. He's torn. He has this relationship with Luffy, but then at the same time, he has that past admiration he had for Doflamingo. And so he's having to weigh the fact that he was betrayed by Doflamingo, and yet he's having to fight Luffy. I mean, I feel like Oda touched on it a little bit, but I really feel as if Oda could have gone a little deeper. I really feel as if he could have gone a little deeper. This is one of those moments where it's just like, I really feel as if the editors that Oda had should have pushed him more on this. I really feel like they should have pushed him. Like, the action sequences are really cool. Don't get me wrong. Seeing Bellamy spring all over the damn place and seeing Luffy, just how upset he looks when he's shouting at him that, hey, I don't need you to, excuse me, he says, there's no reason for me to fight you. And then on the very next page, when Luffy is getting ready to take that attack by Bellamy, it looks like Bellamy hit him with armament haki. Luffy has a very serious expression on his face, and just to see that switch, into Luffy, that's something that I really wanted to see. I wanted to see Luffy's reaction to it. I really wanted to see that. I wanted to see how Bellamy overcomes his psychological hurdle. So I want to know from you guys, like, how do you feel about Oda jumping around here? I know that's something that, you know, you kind of have to get used to at One Piece. I get it. You know, this isn't something new. I mean, we've seen this going all the way as far back as what happened in Alabasta. Not Alabasta, even before that with Arlong Park, where all the different Straw Hats are getting their fights. But I mean, this is something that, I'm not going to lie, like, for as epic as the whole thing with Zoro potentially going through and doing battle with the Plateau, which is basically like a giant fucking mountain, even though you got something like that, I really feel like, and this is ironic, you guys know I'm not a big Luffy fan, I really feel like this should have been Luffy's chapter or Bellamy's chapter. But I want to know what you guys think, though. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an incredible day, guys.